Medieval cities had much in common with our modern counterparts, featuring governing bodies, schools, bankers, lawyers, hospitals, merchants, and a vibrant marketplace bustling with goods and services, all set against the backdrop of grand cathedrals that still stand today. Yet, the inhabitants of these cities often found themselves questioning the benefits of urban life. The English chronicler and monk Richard Davies, writing in the 1190s, noted, "Whatever wickedness exists in any part of the world, you will find it in that one city." So, what was life truly like for these urban dwellers of the past? Join us as we journey back in time to uncover the truth. Welcome to Tavern Tales, City Life in the Middle Ages. In the Middle Ages, roughly 90% of Europeans lived in the countryside, within religious communities or on feudal lands. However, as we entered the High Middle Ages in the 11th century, this number began to shift. With the rise of new business opportunities and expanding overseas trade, many sought their fortunes in towns and cities, yearning for a better life. Villages sprouted around manors, castles, and monasteries, often nestled along bustling trade routes. Over time, these villages transformed into fortified towns and cities, complete with protective walls and towers boasting arrow slits for defense. Access to these medieval cities was regulated through gates, and within their walls lay vibrant streets and structures, typically centered around a magnificent cathedral. Most city dwellers were either born free or were peasants who had fled from manorial obligations in the countryside. Serfs, bound to their lords, had to work their lords' fields while cultivating their own plots for provisions. They were unable to leave the land and could only marry with their lord's consent. It's no wonder that many serfs sought refuge in the cities whenever they had the chance. As urban areas expanded, authorities encouraged migration by offering any peasant the chance to become a freeman. If they could live within the city for a year and a day without being claimed by their lord, they could gain their freedom. However, the last thing a runaway serf wanted was to announce their presence. Doing so could lead to their lord sending a steward to track them down. Yet, these cities needed workers to thrive, so the authorities organized clandestine lists of individuals awaiting their year and a day of freedom. Some stewards and bailiffs even accepted bribes from city officials to help serfs escape their rural confines. In 2023, when we think of a city, we might picture places like Delhi, with over 16 million residents, or New York, home to more than 19 million. Medieval cities, by contrast, were quite small. In Europe, only about 15 to 20 cities had populations exceeding 25,000. In Spain, cities like Valencia and Barcelona had about 250,000 residents. In Germany, Cologne and Nuremberg were notable, while in France, Bordeaux and Toulouse thrived. By 1300, in England, York and Bristol were among the largest cities, with populations of around 10,000 to 12,000. London, however, stood out, housing between 80,000 and 100,000, although that number dropped significantly during the first wave of the Black Death. King Edward III even called London the mirror and exemplar of the entire realm. By about 1100, London had a population of around 40,000, similar to the trading cities of Bruges and Ghent across the English Channel, thanks to their close trading ties. While medieval cities offered opportunities and wealth, they were also filled with squalor. These were noisy, crowded places, crisscrossed with narrow streets teeming with houses, some featuring yards where pigs and other animals were kept. The stench was overwhelming, and disease thrived in the unsanitary conditions. Despite not understanding bacteria, people were aware that waste was filthy and unpleasant, especially during warm summer days. This awareness led to stricter regulations for waste disposal. In London, beginning in 1371, residents were prohibited from tossing waste out their windows onto passers-by. Instead, waste had to be disposed of in the central drainage channels running down the streets, or face a fine of 2 shillings. Following the panic that followed the Black Death, homeowners in cities like London and York were made responsible for maintaining the cleanliness of the area outside their doors. In Coventry, anyone failing to clean their sidewalk on Saturdays faced a fine of 12 pence. While this system worked for quieter streets, busy thoroughfares crowded with people and animals presented a challenge. In 1372, London initiated its first public waste collection, funded by fines from unscrupulous brewers. They procured 24 horses and 12 carts to start a waste management scheme, with collections taking place weekly in York and Norwich, and in Coventry, carts would come around on Saturdays. By the early 16th century, waste collections in London had ramped up to 3 times a week, but controlling the litter brought by the hundreds of daily visitors remained an issue. As the 14th century drew to a close, the murder rate rose alarmingly. Violence, alongside theft and assault, became significant concerns for medieval city dwellers. Curfews were established to protect citizens from outsiders, with bells ringing to signal that it was time to return home before the city gates closed. However, sometimes the dangers lurked closer to home. Residents often became protective of their neighborhoods, leading to disputes that could escalate into violence. In London in 1322, a goldsmith's son threw urine onto a passerby's shoes, resulting in a fatal confrontation. Similarly, an ill seller met a grim fate after being caught dumping eel skins in front of shops. Residents were quick to retaliate against those who littered, leading to lethal outcomes for some. Despite the small proportion of the population living in medieval cities, their vibrant trade thrived on the spending power of countryside dwellers who traveled to purchase goods. They brought with them fresh produce, ensuring that butchers, millers, and furriers could thrive. Without this flow of goods, manufacturers and retailers alike would have struggled to survive. The social hierarchy in cities contrasted sharply with rural areas. At the top were landlords in important government roles, followed by merchants and lawyers, artisans and traders, with unskilled laborers at the bottom. Much like today, medieval cities housed a mix of residential and commercial buildings. Many craftsmen lived above their workshops with their families. The legacy of their trades can still be seen in today's street names, such as Pie Corner, Beef Lane, Apothecary Street, and Fisher Row. Guilds for skilled artisans emerged, providing privileges like workers' compensation and limiting the number of trades within a city. Churches and religious houses played a vital role in city life during an era when the Catholic Church dominated. Perhaps the most impressive feature of a medieval city was its cathedral. Some cathedrals took centuries to complete. York Minster, founded in 627, was finished in 1472, while Cologne Cathedral's construction began in 1248 and continued into the mid-16th century. These monumental buildings fueled their city's economies by employing countless craftsmen over the years. Richard Devis viewed London as a den of vice, filled with temptations like taverns and brothels. Indeed, most medieval cities shared similar characteristics: overcrowded, filthy, and plagued by disease. Yet shortly after Devis's lament, the cleric William Fitzstephen lauded London as a place of thrilling spectacles at devotion and exciting pastimes, including skating and football, mirroring the vibrant urban life we see today. For the medieval populace, cities were essential hubs for spiritual, economic, political, and cultural activities. Thank you for watching this episode of Tavern Tales. If you enjoyed this journey through medieval urban life, please subscribe to our channel and give us a thumbs up. We'd love to hear from you in the comments. What aspect of medieval city life surprised you the most? Until next time.